This episode is sponsored by BP Visits. Make sure to check the link below, subscribe to his channel, and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Auditor BP goes to the Safina factory in Moulton to film with his camera and drone. However, the situation quickly becomes tense when staff at the front step in and wrongly accuse him of breaking drone laws. They also tell him that he is not allowed to film. Instead of trying to understand the law, they decide to call the police, expecting the officers to support them and take action against him.
This situation is a common example of businesses thinking they can control drone use simply because they do not like it. The staff member's insistence shows a lack of understanding about the law. Instead of taking time to check the rules,
The officer tries to justify getting involved by mentioning that the drone could crash and cause damage. However, possible risks alone do not make something a police matter. If no crime has been committed and there is no reckless behavior, the police have no reason to take action. When the auditor asks why this would be a police issue, the officer repeats his point and says that if the drone caused damage on purpose, it would become a police matter. But this argument does not really apply to the situation. Of course, intentionally damaging property would be a crime, but there is no reason to believe that is happening here. Flying a drone while following the legal rules is not suspicious or reckless, and suggesting it might be is a weak reason for unnecessary.
Doesn't fall foul to that rule.
The officer wrongly assumes that the auditor must stay 50 meters away from the factory when flying his drone. This happens very often. Police and businesses frequently think that anyone recording in public must follow GDPR. The officer starts moving away from focusing on the law and instead begins reacting based on personal feelings, which only makes the situation worse. Daily work and suggests that the auditor should have asked for permission out of courtesy. However, this has nothing to do with the law. Filming from a publicly accessible area or flying a drone in unrestricted airspace does not require permission, and the officer should be aware of that. The auditor rightly turns the argument back on the officer by pointing out that he is also just doing his work, and this response directly goes against police policy. According to the College of Policing's body-worn video guidance, officers must tell people as soon as possible if they are being recorded, unless doing so would risk safety or interfere with an ongoing investigation. The officer's refusal to do this isn't just a mistake, it shows arrogance. Instead of admitting he was wrong and following proper procedure, he digs in and refuses to accept that the auditor knows his rights better than he does. The auditor makes a sharp and valid point, saying, "You mentioned GDPR earlier, so how would I have known you were recording? I could request that footage." This is a strong argument because the officer previously tried to.
Public liability insurance, or PLI, is a type of business insurance that covers costs if a third party makes a claim for injury or property damage caused by the insured person's activities. In the context of drones, PLI protects the operator financially in case the drone accidentally harms a person, vehicle, or building. While hobbyist drone pilots are not legally required to have it, PLI is recommended for responsible operators, especially those using drones for commercial or journalistic purposes. By mentioning his public liability insurance, the auditor shows that he takes responsibility for his drone use and understands the importance of safety and solidarity and honor officers who have died in the line of duty. However, it has also faced criticism for how it is perceived by the public. Some people see it as a sign of police pride, while others view it as promoting an us versus them mentality between police and the community. The symbol has also been linked to police misconduct and a lack of accountability, as some officers use it to resist scrutiny or oppose public oversight. Because of this, some police forces have banned or discouraged officers from wearing the thin blue line patch, saying it can conflict with neutrality in policing. And this episode comes to an end. One of the most worrying parts of this encounter was how quickly misinformation spread. The front staff, instead of learning about drone laws and public filming rights, immediately called the police, assuming officers would enforce rules that don't exist. When the officer arrived, he did not have a clear understanding of the law and tried to find reasons to challenge the auditor, bringing up GDPR, airspace rules, and private land claims, none of which applied as he claimed. The officer's attitude was another major problem. Rather than handling the situation objectively, he sided with the business from the start,
questioning the auditor's actions, making unnecessary demands for identification, and even suggesting he should ask for permission out of courtesy.